guys, welcome to Soapless. Today I'm going to show you how to make a baby wrap. The supplies that you're going to need are, first you're going to need your fabric. And I'm just using a lightweight jersey knit. It has a great 4-way stretch, which will be really good for wrapping your baby in. Now with the fabric, you're going to need a 5-yard long piece. However, my fabric is 2.5 yards long, and I'm going to cut it in half and sew those pieces together to make 5 yards, because we only need it to be about 20 to 23 inches wide. Just keep in mind that if you are doing the 2.5 yard piece and then sewing the pieces together, there will be a seam in the middle. Whereas if you did the 5-yard piece, there wouldn't be any seam and you would get 2 wraps out of 5 yards of fabric. Now, if you're going to be cutting the 2.5 yards in half, you're then going to need a serger or a sewing machine to sew those pieces together. And then you're just going to need a pair of scissors. So let's get started. Now your first step is going to be preparing the fabric. And like I said before, I have 2.5 yards of fabric. So I just have mine laying out on the ground. And if you have 5 yards of fabric, I would do the exact same thing. And I still have it folded like they would at the store, or they would send it in the mail. So whether you have a 2.5 yard piece or a 5 yard piece, next what we're going to do is I'm actually going to come over to that folded edge and I'm just going to slide my scissors in and cut up right along there, all the way to the end. And if you have the 5 yard piece, then you don't need to do any sewing after that. But if you don't, we'll then sew the edges together. Just 2 ends, and that'll make a 5 yard piece for us. After you're done cutting, you'll have 2 long pieces just like this. If you did 2.5 yards, you'll have 2 2.5 yard pieces, and if not, you'll have 2 5 yard pieces. Now if you have the 5 yard piece, don't do this step because that'll make it extremely too long. But if you have the 2.5 yard piece, we want to make ours a 5 yard piece. So now I'm going to match up with right sides together. I'm just matching up the raw edges on the shorter side. So not the long side that we just cut. We're not sewing it back together. So now I'm going to go over to my serger and I'm going to sew that seam down right here. Now if you don't have a serger, I would suggest using a stretch stitch, and that could be a zigzag stitch, or some machines have a specific stretch stitch. So just do that if you don't have a serger. Now after that seam is sewn, I'm then going to go to the other end and match up my ends. And this is more just preference. You don't have to do it, but I think it makes tying the wrap on a lot easier. You could use a marking pencil and first mark this out, but I think I'm just going to cut it out and eyeball it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and going through both layers, I'm going to gradually just curve it down and take off the corners. Now once I've done it to one side, I can then fold my fabric over and match it up on this side and do the same thing. Now here's what mine looks like after I cut off the corners. And next, if you want, you could use a serger and go around the entire edge of the wrap and just give it a nice finish. But because it's a knit, it's not going to fray at all, so you don't even have to do that. So I'm actually just going to call mine good and be done. And now you are all done with your wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!